look at it and refer back to it. So, and also chat and the question bank is recorded as well, because that way I can get back and answer any questions that I did not get to on this session and do it in email. The purpose of today's webinar is to talk a little bit about Gradebook. Gradebook has gone through some significant changes since the last time we did any training, and we want to make sure that people are aware of the new look and feel of the Gradebook. So we're going to start off by talking about the different views. I'm going to talk about grade entry. Then I'm going to show you some of the reports that are available through Gradebook, because there's some significant new reports available. I do want to talk about a little bit about categories in the Gradebook, and then I want to talk about how to export the Gradebook, because for those with Campus View access, if you export the Gradebook, you can actually cut and paste into Campus View from an Excel spreadsheet. So we do want to talk about that as well. And then we will follow up with anything that anyone along the way wants me to talk about having to do with the Gradebook. Now, one thing I've been asked to clarify is all Gradebook actions are logged. Okay, anything you change in the Gradebook, any grades added, there is a full history kept. So if you lose a grade, ask, because if it was recorded at one time in the Gradebook, we can get it back. Those histories of every grade change are kept for 1 year from the date the change was made. So let's take a look over at the screen that I have open right now, which is a test course. So if anyone's on here from nursing, they shouldn't panic. I'm not messing with one of their actual courses. It's a course we copied out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to administration and grades. Now you'll notice that all of my tabs are over on the side, because I really like working with the larger screen. So, I mean, yours may look like this, or you may have it out as blocks, but I always keep my tabs on the side because it just makes so much sense. So in this case, we have 8 participants in a course, okay? Pet Jim Ferris didn't know he was taking a nursing course right now, but that's okay. So what we are doing here is we're looking at the Gradebook, and it's the default view, which is the grader report. Okay, now the grader report is actually set up so if you move your screen from side to side, okay, or up and down depending on the side of your class, the left-hand column, which is the student name column, will not move, okay? It will stay the same, so you can always see the student names in the row. We had a little brief period where that wasn't working okay, and it's been fixed since then. Part of why the look and feel has changed a little bit. So you can scroll back and forth like this, and the student name column will always stay the same. The other thing to point out on this view is there's little plus signs next to each of the categories, okay? And over here, there's a little bit, I don't know, it may be tough for some of you on smaller screens to see, but right next to classwork grade, it's a sort of a little circle, sort of like a refresh circle. If you click that, if you click any one of these, okay, what's going to happen is it's actually going to either stretch all the way out. In other words, all the grades will be visible under the category. When it's in that view, you'll see everything under it plus the category total. And this little sign becomes a minus. If you click that minus sign, the category will compress again to just show you the category totals. Now, since the last version of Moodle, and since we've put some restrictions on what can and cannot be done on Moodle, instructors are no longer allowed to change the category totals. You have to actually change something under the category totals. Okay, in other words, if you have one exam, you can't just put an exam grade in the category total. You have to have an item under that category total. For example, in this column here, they have a they have a final exam, okay, it has to go in that category to change the category totals. Does that make sense, or does anybody have any questions on that? And again, if you type questions into the question bank, I'll be happy to answer those. But the category totals are not changeable anymore. Okay, Mary Torres, I'm not sure why you're losing audio. It's definitely something on your end because other people can still hear me. If you want, you can dial in via phone, I think using the same number, and that might help you as well. Okay, so that is the default view of the gradebook. Now, you can come over in the gradebook when you start entering grades, and you can actually click in it. You can put your grades all the way down, okay, by clicking in every category. Okay, when it turns yellow, it basically means the system has returned the grades. The better way to do this is to click on the little pencil next to the category that says that if you hover over it, it says single view only. We're talking about views of the gradebook. This is a new view. It is actually much easier for an instructor to do grading on and stuff like that. So if you come down here, this is the single view only. So again, I clicked on the pencil next to the name, and I got to what's the single view. In other words, one assignment, list of student names, okay, list of a place for grades, list of a place for feedback. And while the screen's refreshing for most of you, I'll answer a couple of these questions. Henry asks, are you saying we can add an additional grade in each category? Henry, no. I'm saying that if you have a category without a grade blank under it, we do need to put a grade blank in, but this really needs to be done by either the program chairs, program managers, or curriculum chairs, depending on which organization you're in. We do not want instructors adding grades. So again, it needs Betty, I am not sure, quite honestly. I haven't tested on a course that's large enough to have to scroll down a screen. I can test that later. Matter of fact, I think the course I'm going to use as a sample for one of my next things will have that. Okay, back to the screen here. So once you're in simple view, you can click the override all, and you can come down here and enter all your grades and your feedback by just going down the list. And again, you're dealing with one course, okay? Jim's not going to pass a nursing course anyways. So we can come down here, okay, and enter all of our grades going through. Once you do that, before you leave this screen, you have to click Update. If in single view, you have to click Update, and it will tell you that the grades were set for 6 items. Now, looking at the single view, you can also come back and you can sort of scroll from grade to grade. If you take a look at the top left of the screen here and the top right of the screen, you'll see that there's an arrow to go back and forth. Okay, there's an arrow that goes around. So if I want to go to homework chapter 9 because I have to grade that right away, just click on that and you'll get to the simple view, okay, having to do with that assignment. So this is a much easier way to work with the grades than that full gradebook screen, especially for people who have a lot of labs to grade. Okay, so we now have grades in the exam grade total, okay? This is the column with the actual grade. A total column is the average of everything under that column. So in other words, the homework grade total is an average of everything under, of all the homework assignments in that category, or all the assignments in that category. Ed, does that answer your question? So total, okay, over here we have the homework total. Sorry about the choppy movement here, but that's part of it is because of the recording. So we have a grade total, okay? If there was more than one exam, everything would be averaged into that total. And it does not average anything with blanks, okay? And if there's a dash in here, means nothing's been added. It does not average that grade in. So when you complete your term, any material that has a dash that the student has not turned in, you need to put a 0 in. Because if you just leave the dash, it does not average that in. Any questions on the gradebook entry of grades and the fact we can't do category totals and the single view? Any questions on that? Okay. Scrolling back over here, up here, you'll see that, again, new to this gradebook is the fact that we now have tabs across the top. You have a view tab, you have a setup tab, we have scales, outcomes, letters, and then we have import, export, okay? Your view may change a little bit based on the rights you have. In other words, what you're allowed to do on the system. So the first view that comes up is the grader report. Okay, I'm going to skip grade history for a moment, and I'm going to go over here to overview report, because this is actually one the students can choose as well for themselves. So if I click overview report, I can select a user. By the way, yours comes up first. You can select anyone enrolled in that course, okay? And then you will see every course they've been enrolled in the entire system, and you will see what their final grade was for that course. So again, this is a great, quick way, as long as your courses are set up properly, to basically have a counseling or a conversation or a pat on the back session with the students. For example, this student that I just chose happened to, she was number 1 out of 8 in a class in Rocky Hill. Okay, so I mean that is an accomplishment, and that deserves a pat on the back. Now there was another course where she might not have done so well on. She ranked actually under the instructor, which is, I don't quite understand that, but we'll take a look at that later. So the overview report shows first per student what the student did on every course in the system. Again, a great report for when you're counseling a student. And Betty's asking, does this report include ongoing courses or only those with courses with final grades? It is an ongoing course as well. So you just have to be aware of what the grades are based on ongoing courses. It's a real-time example of where the student's at. Then we talked about the single view. That is the one that you click the pencil next to the grade and it comes up with a single view. The user report is the default view that the student gets when they click on Gradebook. Okay, in other words, they're automatically selected as the user, but you as an instructor can select a specific student. Okay, and it actually shows in a one-page format. In other words, this is printable without any other student's information on it. That it shows exactly what the grade was, the rank in the class, okay, and some other stuff that goes along with it that doesn't mean much. I mean, you have a mean, averages, and stuff like that. But it shows a really great view that, again, is great for working with the students. This is a similar view to what the students see. They don't see the calculated weight. They don't see the contribution to the course total, but they do see the grade, the rank, and I think they see the average of the assignment. So they can base themselves how they're doing with the rest of the students. Now, the other thing you have the ability to do as an instructor with this report is you can select all users. Okay. Mary's asking how can I select a student? On my page, I don't have a drop-down box to choose from. Mary, if you're not in there as an instructor or above, I don't think you can. I'll have to look at that, and I'll get back to you later on that. She's asking on her page, she doesn't have a drop-down box to choose. I'll have to take a look at that one later and follow up. Purpose of rank, yes, a student can see that. Students are competitive in nature, and they all want to be the first in the class. We chose a couple years ago, this was something that went through the leadership team, to display ranks. Okay, they can't see the names, but they can see if they're 8th in the class or above. So that's the purpose of the rank, Gail, so that there's a little bit of competition without disclosing any academic issues. Okay, so we chose all users here on the user report. If an instructor chose to print this to a printer, every student would show up on a separate page, okay? In other words, you would see the student on a first set of page, then the next student, and they would not be combined. So the report could be distributed like as a checkpoint in the middle of a course or when you do your midterm counseling. The user report is what I would be using to counsel the student because, again, it's very specific to them. There's no other student information on it. And you can say to them, hey, here's where we're at. Here's why your grade is the way it is. You're doing great if you're the first in the class, or maybe you need a little bit of help if you're further down in the class. It's a counseling tool. Okay, so that's the user report. So we talked about the grader report, the overview report. We've talked about single view, and we've talked about the user report. Any questions on those? Okay, and Mary, you keep coming in and out on audio. I will be very happy to give you a call or you give me a call after this if you missed any of the questions I answered. Okay, I'm going to jump next to the setup. Okay, we're going to go to the categories thing that I wanted to talk about because we seem to be having a small issue with categories. The setup tab used to just be the simple view look on the old style gradebook. It used to be simple view. It's now called setup and category and item. And the material online is being updated to show the new screen. But again, where we used to select simple view, it's now setup, category, and item. What this screen does, it shows you every single grade that's in your course and where the grade is. So for example, under homework grade, we have all of these homework assignments. There's our category total. So everything between the top of the category and the category total is the grades that are in that category. Then we go to exam view, we go to quiz grades, and we put in a classwork grade here. Again, these are not the actual grades because we've messed with this course. And then finally, you have a course total. Okay? Everything that's counted in the grade must be in a category. Okay? If you have any floating around down here outside of a category, you will not count that in the course total. That's also a good way for curriculum chairs to actually put stuff in there, put activities in there that we want the students to do, but might not necessarily be counted in a grade. You just don't put it in a category and it won't be counted. Okay, the course total is really what I wanted to show everybody because there's been real questions on the formulas in the course totals. So you come down to the course total on this screen and you click the edit. Once you click the edit, you have an edit calculation that comes up. okay? On your edit calculation screen, the first thing at the top is the actual calculation on how your final grade is calculated. So in this case, if we take a look at the top of the screen here, in where I just highlighted, we will see that homework is times 0.15. In other words, 15% of the grade is homework. Then we add 50% of the exam grade, we add 25% of the quiz grade, and we add 10% of this was coursework or coursework grade, okay? The category names here have to match the ID next to the category total on the lower portion of the screen. Okay, if you end up with a whole bunch of hieroglyphics or letters that don't make sense up here, it means that we need to correct your course because your final grades are not right. You need to open a bug on that. I've been hearing about a number of courses that might have messed up calculations, so that's how you check it. Again, you go to your setup, your category and items. You scroll all the way down to the end where the edit is next to course total, and you click edit calculation. There has to be a calculation in here or the final grade of the course will not work out the same way it does in Campus View. It will use an average rather than our grading formulas. So be careful on that one. By the way, all of these decimal places have to add up to 1. Any questions on the category and items and calculation screen? Okay. Since we do not have any questions there, I want to move on and I want to show you the one view that I did skip in the gradebook. Now, unfortunately, to show you this view, I do have to jump to a live course. I do have to jump over to a live course, and this is a course that I this morning just picked out of the blue, so we'll see what we find there. But Chris Kelly is asking who has access to edit these calculations. All the program, in your case, all the program directors and program managers do. In the northern campuses, it's all of the curriculum chairs, and also supervisors have rights to edit the calculation. But we really want the curriculum chairs and program managers to be fixing those. And it's based 100% on the syllabi percentages. Okay, so I'm going to jump to a current course. Okay, this just happens to be a course that's over in HVAC, and I'm picking that course because I know that program a little bit much. So what we've done is we've clicked on View, okay, and we've come to the grade history report. Now, this one is relatively important from almost from a verification in case something gets lost, in case you accidentally override a grade, in case someone's saying a grade was changed. Okay, this report's relatively important. So what you do is you select users, and you basically put a check mark next to every user that you want to show up on the report. Okay, you finish selecting the users. You have to click this little finish selecting users. You cannot just X out the window. So click finish selecting users, and then click the activity you want to look at. So in other words, if I want to see grade changes for the quiz on day 15, okay, then I'm going to just click that. I'm always going to say do all graders because it will show me who made the change anyways. I never enable dates because I want to see the full grade change. Okay, revised grades only basically means that that it's a grade that was changed. Okay, but I'm gonna leave that blank in this case. I'm not going to check revised grades only, and I'm going to click submit. By clicking submit, you're pulling a grade report. So when you scroll down, you now see basically every quiz in the course. So let's start at the bottom of this. Okay, so for quiz day 15, everyone started off when the course opened as not having a grade, which is valid. You open a course, you don't have a grade. On November 6th, okay, which is over here, the student took the quiz. It was graded automatically. You notice the user, the student, and the grader is basically the same. That means the quiz was graded automatically. Okay, and then on November 7th, okay, which is the next day, an instructor made a grade override. In 2 cases here, we had a grade probably because of a wrong question or something didn't grade right or there was a question from the student, okay? There were some grade changes made here. So we have our original test, then we have an override, and if another override happened, this would continue to override and show the different overrides as it goes through. This is a report that Catherine Molnar you will be using quite heavily. So just keep in mind that if you ever lose anything or if there's ever a grading history question, you can come and take a look at the view, grade history, select the users you want to select, and you'll get the grade history for that activity. Any questions on the grade history? That is a pretty important new report that we had. Okay, if there are questions, type them in and I'll get to them. But moving on, I want to talk about imports and exports. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my categories and items. And the next thing I'm going to talk about is exporting grades. Okay, so if I click on the export tab, I have the ability to export to 5 different methods of exporting. The only one you folks mainly are going to use is the Excel spreadsheet. All of the rest of this, well, maybe if anybody uses Open Office, you can use the Open Document spreadsheet, but we really want to stick with the Excel spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Excel spreadsheet. Okay, now, what it's going to do, it's going to give me everything in the gradebook. Every activity is listed here on this screen that's in your gradebook. The best thing you can do is scroll all the way down to the bottom, click on the Select All or None, and then just export the category totals if that's what you need for your Campus View entry at the end of the term. Okay, just get the category totals. And now, once I have those checked, so I have the 4 category totals and I have my course total. Okay, once you have everything checked, you can, if you want to, you can come and take a look at the export format. I don't want feedback because that will mess up the Excel spreadsheet from an import. I want to include all users, okay? And I want real type grades. We don't want to change it to a letter. We don't want to change it to a percentage. We want the actual grades, and we work with 2 decimal points. Okay, so usually the only thing that I take the check mark off of is excluding suspended users. In other words, if you had a user drop, we still want their grades. Click download. Okay, now once you've clicked download, it's depending on the browser you're using. The Internet Explorer acts different, Safari acts different. All the different browsers act a little bit different on this. So if you don't get this exact screen, it's something close. You can either open it or save the file. I'm going to go ahead and let it open in Microsoft Excel. Okay, and then I'll shove it back over on this screen. So what you get, and let me see if I can increase this, zoom in a little bit on this. This isn't what I wanted. Okay, so what you get here basically is you're getting the first name, last name, you get the ID number, you get the department, you get the student email address, and you get if they're suspended users or not. Okay, I'm not awfully worried about that. Okay, I'm more concerned about the category totals over here. So I normally just delete those columns to deal with it. So we have our first category total, we have our second category total. Okay, so the first one was homework, then we had exam, then we had classwork, and then we had something else. Okay, and then we have the course total. These category totals, if they're in the same order as they are in exam in Campus View, you can actually highlight the category totals and paste them right into Campus View. As long as the names are the same and in the same order, you can cut and paste. So that can actually save some time on grade entry for a very large class. Are there any questions on the export? I know you're going to have to do it once or twice to get it, but it gives you a way to get the grades out of Moodle and into Campus View. Again, cut and paste. There's no direct interface yet. Any questions? That is correct, Betty. It will not work unless the order is the same, especially on the names. Be very careful on the names. So what we want to do, Betty, is we want the grade, well, the columns really doesn't matter. You just have to select the correct one to cut and paste in terms of order. You just have to know which one you're cutting and pasting. But the names are ordered by alphabetical order by last name by default, and that does match Campus View. But again, my point is we absolutely need to just be aware that if there's an extra student or one less student, it has to be dealt with. Okay. Chris Kelly's asked me, so Campus View users will need to copy all grades into Campus View. Currently, the answer to that is yes, but it's most likely just going to be category total. Okay, and again, just for everybody, Chris is down in the Pennsylvania campuses, so they're still going through some of these. We're still going through some of the policy and what we're doing down there. Tracy's asking, when we enter our grades into Portal, can we copy and paste this into the Portal? Tracy, I have that unanswered question on Portal. I've actually asked someone to check on that for me because I've never used the Portal. Okay, and if you cut and paste, can you delete the info from someone that has dropped? The answer is yes. Okay, because Campus View isn't going to ask for a grade from a withdrawn student, but we do maintain their grades in Moodle until the course is over. Okay, so that's basically the export functionality of Gradebook. I'm not going to save this because it really doesn't matter. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my default view. Okay, which is my grader report. Okay, so we've talked about the gradebook with the grader report, the single view, the add item, the changes, the history. We've talked about entering grades, okay, both using the gradebook itself by just clicking and typing, or we talked about using the single view, which is the primary way to enter grades for activities that don't auto-grade themselves. We've talked about categories and in terms of the category totals and where to find them. And we've talked about the export to Excel spreadsheet. The one last thing I want to talk about is grading activities. Okay, up here on all of these activities in the gradebook that are in blue or like my mouse is over, when you highlight them, there's a link. Okay, those are activities that actually are in the course as a Dropbox. So the correct way to grade those is to click on the link to the activity. Okay, you're taken over to the actual assignment or quiz if it's a quiz, and then you need to click on View and Grade All Submissions. Okay? Now, what it comes up with is, again, it comes up with anything that's been submitted, anything that's not submitted, okay? And then it gives you a box for your grade. You can come in here, you can put comments in, and then once you've done entering your grades, like in this case, I'm going to just come down and enter 0. You come down here and you click Save All Quick Grading Changes. Okay, grade changes are saved. Click Continue. Okay, and it takes you back there. Okay, so this is actually the correct place to grade assignments, quizzes, everything else like that. Don't grade them directly from the quiz book, or from the grade book, because it's going to show an override on a grade. If you grade it here, the reports do not show that you overrode a grade. So just be aware of that. Grade activities and stuff where they in the own activity. So again, by doing basically what we did is we clicked on the assignment. We came into View Grade All Submissions, and it took us to the grading sheet for that assignment. It tells you when it was submitted. It tells you what was submitted. Okay, you have the ability to come in here, add comments if you wanted to, by just clicking on the little bar. Okay, if you wanted to come in here and add feedback, you can add feedback. Okay, the student has the ability to add comments there, and you have the ability to actually respond to them. So that's how to grade an assignment. Any questions? Okay, well, that is actually covering what we wanted to cover in the gradebook session this morning. I don't have anything else unless people have questions. And if no one has questions, I'm going to say have a great day and have a great weekend. And thank you for your half hour of your time. I really do appreciate it. So this webinar is over. Thank you all. Chris Kelly, yes, you have access to Moodle. Matter of fact, I think you were going to end up talking to Susan about some activities you had thought you were going to be taking. So, yes, you have access. Janine, the recording will end up on the GoToWebinar site, and I'll send out a link later today to everybody who signed up for these. Mary, I did answer the question. You were basically, bear with me, how can you select a student? I think you have to be enrolled in the course as an instructor. If not, give me the course name. Send me an email with the course name and the course number. In other words, the course identifying information, the one up here at the top, that if you look at my screen that has Watertown Practical Nursing, send me that name right there in an email, and I'll check on that for you. I'll let you know why.